You're ready to face the darkness to reclaim your light. Now is the time to dive into the list of 10 uncomfortable but undeniable truths in today's video. Stay until the end, for you may be surprised to realize that you are unconsciously entangled in many of these, and when the truth is laid bare, you'll understand why your feminine energy is being drained day by day. Are you ready? Number 1. Living too long in the persona. Carl Jung pointed out that to survive in society, each of us needs a persona, a mask designed to meet the expectations, norms, and rules of the collective. Thanks to the persona, we know how to behave at work, laugh at the right moment at a party, or suppress the truth to avoid hurting others. The persona is not the enemy. It is a necessary tool for social integration and cohesion. But the tragedy begins when we identify ourselves with this mask, living too long in a glossy shell while forgetting the true face beneath. Imagine a woman constantly praised as a wonderful mother or a perfect wife. She cares for her husband and children meticulously, always appearing gentle and self-sacrificing. But at night, when the door closes, she feels an emptiness so profound she wants to cry without knowing why. Behind the mask of the perfect mother may lie a woman yearning to create, to write, to travel, to live for herself. Yet those desires are imprisoned in the shadows, for she fears that removing the mask would mean society, or even her loved ones, would no longer accept her. This is the cost of living too long in the persona, losing your true soul, losing your anima. Jung warned that the persona is merely a small fragment of the entire psyche. When we identify with it, we shrink our vast being into a narrow role. Living in the persona is like performing in a lifelong play, forgetting who we are behind the curtain. This pretense erodes feminine energy, for the anima cannot flourish in inauthenticity. Modern psychology also shows that those who overly identify with their social image are prone to anxiety, depression, or midlife crises. When that image falters, when children grow up, marriages crack, or careers fail, their entire inner world collapses. They never built themselves on an inner foundation, only on a cardboard castle, beautiful but fragile. If you pay attention, you'll notice the persona at work even in the smallest moments. We post a happy photo on social media while our hearts are heavy with exhaustion. We smile in a meeting while our minds are in chaos. We say, "I'm fine," when our hearts are breaking. Each time, a bit of feminine energy is siphoned away, for the anima cannot thrive in falsehood. The feminine requires authenticity, wholeness, and a deep connection to emotions. Living too long in the persona means losing the underground spring that nourishes you. The solution is not to eliminate the persona, for we simply cannot. Jung didn't advocate discarding the mask, but recognizing it as a tool, not your essence. You must know when to wear it to fit in, and when to dare to take it off to face yourself. When you allow yourself to cry when sad, say no when you don't want to, or express anger instead of hiding it behind a smile, you let the anima breathe, empowering the deep feminine to live authentically. Number 2. Suppressing emotions out of fear of being hurt or judged. If life is a coin, the persona is one side of it. When we wear the mask too long, we also hide our true emotions. And that concealment doesn't vanish. It slips into the unconscious, where the shadows begin to whisper. Jung once said, "There can be no transforming of darkness into light and of apathy into movement without emotion." when you swallow your anger instead of speaking it, or hold back tears instead of letting them flow, those emotions don't dissolve. They flow inward, pooling like smoldering lava beneath a volcano. You still smile, work, and appear fine to others, but deep within, your feminine energy is being suffocated day by day. Picture a river. When it flows freely, its water is clear, fertile, and life-giving. But if you build a dam to block it, the river stagnates, festers, and becomes a dead pool. Your emotions are the same. The feminine needs to flow. Cry when sad, speak when angry, give when in love, and admit when afraid. When suppressed, emotions turn toxic, wilting the soul and exhausting the body. Research by Chapman, 2013, on emotion suppression and mortality risk shows that those who habitually suppress emotions face higher risks of psychological and physical ailments, from stomach pain and insomnia to nervous breakdowns and even cardiovascular diseases or cancer. This is no coincidence. The body is the truest mirror of the soul. What you dare not say with words, your body will express for you. But more dangerous than illness is this. Suppressing emotions severs your connection to the anima, the deep feminine within you. The anima is the soul that feels, vibrates, and lives fully in each moment. A woman who doesn't allow herself to cry or feel anger is like a musical instrument with its strings removed, intact on the outside but silent within. Recall the last time you let yourself cry fully or spoke a truth that made you tremble. Afterward, despite the pain, you felt lighter, liberated, as if breathing with new lungs. That is the healing power of letting emotions flow. Emotions are the lifeblood of the soul, and suppressing them is like strangling your own heart. Perhaps right now, you're recalling such a moment in your life. I'd like to leave you with a question. Do you often choose to suppress your emotions or let them be expressed? Share a few words or simply an emoji or number. This isn't just for your own release, but to remind others reading this that they too deserve to live true to their emotions. So, how do you break free from suppression? Jung didn't advocate impulsive outbursts or bearing all, but emphasized awareness. You need the courage to recognize and name your emotions and find a safe space to express them. It could be a journal, a trusted friend, or therapy. The key is, don't betray your own emotions. Each time you say, "I'm fine," when you're not, you cut a thread connecting you to the anima. As those threads snap, you lose your way in your own life, unsure of what's real or false. Suppressing emotions isn't just silence. It's a slow, silent self-destruction, steadily draining your feminine energy with no escape. Number 3. Over-identifying with masculinity. If suppressing emotions stagnates the feminine, another danger comes from the opposite direction. When a woman over-identifies with masculinity, Jung called this animus possession, when the masculine archetype within no longer acts as a partner but becomes a tyrant. In Jungian psychology, the animus is not inherently negative. On the contrary, it is the masculine principle in a woman's psyche: logic, rationality, decisiveness, and the strength to act. When integrated properly, the animus protects and actualizes the anima. Intuition becomes ideas, emotions turn into concrete actions. But when the animus dominates, a woman is swept into an extreme, living through her mind, logic, efficiency, and control, while losing the soft, intuitive, emotional, and receptive feminine. Today, many successful women embody this vividly. They run businesses, conquer milestones once reserved for men, They are strong, disciplined, and resolute. Yet deep down, many admit to a hollow emptiness. They feel rigid, disconnected from emotions, struggling to connect in love, or unable to feel simple joy. In the race to prove their worth, they've identified so strongly with the animus that it has become the inner ruler. Jung described the dominating animus as authoritarian, speaking in absolute truths within a woman's mind. For example, if I don't control everything, it will all fall apart. If I rest, I'll fall behind. If I don't prove my worth, I won't be loved. These invisible commands trap women in an endless cycle, always doing, always striving, always needing to be strong. Modern psychology also notes that women who overly align with rationality and achievement while denying emotions are prone to chronic stress, anxiety disorders, and burnout. Studies on role conflict in society show that the more women strive to be superhuman in work, family, and society, the more likely they are to lose inner balance. This aligns with Jung's warning. An unintegrated animus becomes a force against the soul itself. The solution isn't to reject masculinity or force yourself to be gentle against your nature, but to recognize when the animus is overpowering you. Notice, if you feel compelled to do more to prove your worth, if you struggle to rest without guilt, if your mind echoes phrases like, "I can't afford to be weak," the animus has taken control. Recognizing this signal is the first step to breaking free from its invisible grip. Practice pausing and listening to your body. When it's exhausted, instead of pushing through with coffee, allow yourself to rest. When emotions arise, instead of dismissing them to stay productive, write them down or share them with someone trustworthy. Rest isn't failure, it's part of the journey. Just as the earth needs fallow time to recover for new growth, the soul needs quiet moments to regenerate its strength. You can also create small rituals to nurture the anima. An afternoon with your phone off, a purposeless walk, a moment listening to music and letting tears flow naturally. These seemingly small acts are gateways for the feminine to breathe, for softness and creativity to return. When you learn to let the animus support rather than dominate, life becomes more balanced. Rationality remains to help you achieve goals, but your heart and intuition are honored to let you feel fully. This isn't a battle of this or that, but a harmony where both sides coexist and complement each other. In that harmony, feminine energy blossoms, radiating with authentic, peaceful, and vibrant presence. Number 4. No inner space, disconnected from the inner world. After growing accustomed to living in the relentless cycle of must do, must be strong, under the animus's dominance, the inevitable consequence is that you no longer leave room for your inner world to breathe. And this is the great tragedy of modern times. People spend their entire day reacting to emails, messages, deadlines, and the noise out there, but can't spare even a few minutes to sit quietly with themselves. Inner space isn't an abstract concept. It's simply the silence you create to converse with yourself. A morning before rushing to check your phone. An afternoon at a cafe without scrolling. An evening with the lights off, lying there listening to your breath. But when life is crammed full of work and distractions, that silence is stolen. You end up living in a state of constant connection to the outside, while growing ever more disconnected from within. Jung once said, "One who looks outside dreams. One who looks inside awakens." If you fixate only on the outside, On recognition, achievements, you may live in a beautiful but soulless dream. Only by turning inward do you truly awaken, seeing clearly what brings you joy, what causes you pain, and what truly matters. Consider your phone. When it runs apps non-stop without charging, it quickly shuts down. The inner world is the same. Each day you expend energy meeting the outer world's demands. If you don't pause to recharge from within, you'll fall into exhaustion and emptiness. This is one of the deep-rooted reasons so many feel lifeless despite functioning normally on the surface. And perhaps right now, you should pause for a moment yourself. Ask, when was the last time you truly sat still with yourself? Do you realize that sometimes we don't need another conversation with the outside world, but a profound encounter with our own selves? If you can't recall, that may be the signal that your soul is waiting for a silence, a moment to be seen and touched. The remarkable thing is that inner space doesn't appear on its own. You must intentionally create it, as simply as starting the day with 5 minutes of stillness, no agenda, no proper meditation, just listening. Or at day's end, jotting a few lines in a notebook. How do I feel today? These small but consistent acts are how you reopen the door to your inner world. And you'll be surprised to find that, by simply giving yourself a little room, feminine energy begins to return. You feel softer, more creative, more connected. For the feminine needs stillness, like a seed needs dark soil. Without the darkness of the inner world, no seed can sprout. Number 5, not confronting your shadow. If the lack of inner space has left you lost from your soul's home, an even greater challenge awaits right there in that home, your own shadow. Jung called it the shadow, all that you deny, reject, or refuse to see in yourself. It could be anger, selfishness, envy, a thirst for power, or even the weakness you're ashamed of. You push it into the darkness, believing that banishes it. But the shadow doesn't vanish. It simply waits until you're most weary to rise, often in ways that catch you off guard. Think back to the last time you snapped at a loved one for no reason, or felt envy towards someone despite always seeing yourself as kind and forgiving. That's the shadow whispering, I am part of you too. But instead of listening, you feel guilt, then hurriedly bury the emotion even deeper. And so the cycle continues, with the shadow growing larger. Jung warned, when an inner situation is not made conscious, it appears outside as fate. The consequence is that the shadow accumulates silently, leaving you depleted, vulnerable, and prone to extreme outbursts. An uncontrollable rage, a sudden decision to abandon everything, or depression without apparent cause. It's like a room where you've shoved all your unused junk. One day the door flies open and it all spills out, burying the entire house. The key isn't to eliminate the shadow, for no one can be absolutely pure. The shadow also holds seeds of power. Anger can become fuel for self-protection, envy a drive to rise, and weakness transformed into profound empathy. The issue is whether you dare to look it straight in the face. A simple practice is to observe your reactions to others. The people who irritate you, whom you despise, often mirror your own shadowed parts. Instead of rushing to judge, try asking, why does this provoke me so strongly? What does it reveal about the rejected part of me? Just posing the question begins pulling a fragment of shadow into the light. You can turn this into a habit. Whenever someone triggers an emotional button, note it down. It might be an overly ambitious colleague, a bluntly honest friend, or a stranger who seems arrogant. Instead of stopping at discomfort, reflect. Isn't there ambition suppressed in you? A desire to speak truth, but fear of judgment? A longing to be proud, but holding back? In answering these, you start naming the shadow and reclaiming the energy it buried. Confronting the shadow isn't easy, for it demands accepting that you're not perfect. But that very acceptance brings true power, for when you dare to gaze into the darkness, it no longer controls you. It becomes an ally, unlocking the door to wholeness. And then, feminine energy isn't just alive, it's deeper and stronger than ever. You've come this far with me, which means you dare to face the shadow, one of the toughest challenges on this journey. Give yourself a respectful nod, for not everyone is ready to confront their inner truth. We've only covered half the path, and deeper secrets of the soul still await unveiling ahead. If what you've heard resonates deeply with you, keep this flame alive by joining me in the next parts. A like, a subscribe. It's a gentle reminder that you're still committed to the road back to your true self. Number 6. Living in outdated archetypes that no longer fit. When we reject the shadow, we sever half our soul. But there's another burden, no less insidious. Living too long in outdated molds that once served but now imprison. Jung called them the deep archetypes formed in the collective unconscious, existing as pre-written scripts for how one should live. Across generations, women have been tied to archetypes like the nurturing mother, the dutiful wife, the obedient girl, and the sacrificial goddess. These once held social and spiritual meaning, but when we fully identify with them, they become chains. You find yourself compelled to be gentle, even in anger, to sacrifice even when depleted, to be beautiful, even when you want to let go. The world looks on and praises. She's wonderful. But inside, your soul crumbles, for you're living for the mold, not for yourself. Imagine a dress that fits you perfectly at 15. It may have been beautiful once, enhancing you. But if at 30 you still force it on, it becomes a burden, suffocating you. Archetypes are the same. We can't deny their value, but if we don't evolve, they stifle the soul's growth. In today's modern life, so many women feel torn. One side a yearning for freedom, creativity, career pursuit. The other, the call of mother or wife, that guilts them for putting themselves first. This tug of war drains feminine energy. They're unhappy sacrificing and unhappy chasing freedom, because in both choices they feel they're betraying some archetype. What Jung wants us to grasp is this: a woman can step into the mother role with full love, while also being the creator, the warrior, the lover. The issue isn't choosing one archetype and clinging to it for life, but daring to recognize that you have many faces, many roles, and each phase demands different flexibility. Practicing this isn't distant. It starts with questions. What role am I living today? Does it still fit me? Or am I trying to wear a dress that's too tight? Just asking opens the possibility of breaking free from old archetypal chains. And when you allow yourself to step out of a mold, you also open the door for feminine energy to return, vibrant, creative, freer than ever. For in the end, you weren't born to be a copy of any archetype. You were born to be yourself, unique, whole, irreplaceable. And only by daring to shatter outdated molds that no longer fit, can you truly hear the primal whisper of your soul? Here is the detailed and accurate English translation of the provided text, preserving the original tone, emotion, and philosophical depth inspired by Carl Jung. The translation maintains a smooth, concise, and contextually appropriate style to convey the message effectively. Number 7. Constantly pleasing others. Yet, even after breaking free from outdated archetypes, many continue to lose themselves in another way, living to please others, to the point of forgetting their own true voice. This is one of the most insidious yet powerful ways feminine energy is drained, as it not only robs you of freedom, but also erodes your loyalty to yourself. Many women grow up with a deeply ingrained belief that their happiness depends on the approving gaze of others. They become the ones who always say yes, even when their heart screams no to achieve their goals, the ones who listen to everyone, but are never truly heard. Each reluctant nod, each forced smile, is a moment they sever themselves from their true being. In psychology, this behavior often stems from a deep fear of rejection, fear of losing love, fear of abandonment. Instead of facing that fear, many choose the safer path, pleasing everyone. But paradoxically, the more you try to please, the lonelier you feel. Because the connection you form is not with your true self, but with the accommodating mask you wear. And relationships built on that mask will, sooner or later, become hollow. Perhaps you felt this too, smiling in a relationship to avoid conflict, only to feel lost inside. If so, share a little in the comments. Sometimes, your honest experience can be a mirror illuminating others trapped in the same cycle. Imagine a candle. It's born to shine, but if you constantly give its light to others without keeping any for yourself, the flame will soon flicker out. Feminine energy is the same. It flourishes when you live true to your emotions and needs. It withers when you exist only to meet others' desires. Recall a time you agreed to help someone while you were already exhausted. They may have been pleased, but afterward you felt drained, irritable, or even resentful. That's proof that betraying yourself to please others brings no true happiness to anyone. The trap lies here. The more you please, the more you reinforce the belief that your worth exists only in making others happy. And so the vicious cycle continues. The more you give under duress, the more you lose your wholeness, the more you depend on external validation. The solution isn't to become selfish or callous, but to learn loyalty to your inner truth. Start with small things. Say no when you don't have the strength. Share your true feelings instead of hiding them, and permit yourself to rest without guilt. This honesty may initially spark anxiety, as it defies the ingrained habit of pleasing, but gradually, you'll realize that this authenticity fosters real connection. Others may be disappointed, but you'll no longer disappoint yourself. And when you dare to live true to yourself, feminine energy returns, soft yet not weak, loving yet not self-sacrificing. You're no longer a candle burning out to light others, but a steady flame, bright enough to illuminate both yourself and those worthy of being by your side. Number 8. Neglecting the body and its wisdom. When you've grown used to living as a people pleaser, always looking outward to measure your worth through others' eyes, you also gradually lose connection with your most vital compass, your body. This is a truth many overlook. The body is the truest mirror of the soul, housing an instinctual wisdom that logic cannot replace. But in the modern whirlwind, we learn to ignore the body's voice, turning it into a machine serving productivity rather than a home nurturing life. Do you remember the last time you truly listened to your body? Have you noticed that when you're sad, your chest feels heavy? When stressed, your stomach tightens? When afraid, your hands turn cold? The body always speaks before you consciously register emotions, yet we often dismiss these signals with painkillers, coffee, or the familiar refrain, "It's fine, I can handle it." In reality, psychologists and medical experts clearly see this link. Patients exhausted from overwork often suffer from anxiety, depression, and body image insecurities. They visit clinics for headaches, stomach pain, or insomnia. But the root lies in ignoring the body's voice for too long. Like a car driven thousands of miles without maintenance, it won't just break down mechanically, its exterior will also wear out. The frightening thing is that the body often warns early with subtle signs: unexplained fatigue, sleep disturbances, hair loss, dull skin, and difficulty focusing. But by dismissing these signals, many ignore them until they manifest as real illnesses. Then the cost isn't just health, but also confidence, vitality, and the feminine energy within. In Jung's view, the body is inseparable from the soul. The feminine is tied to natural cycles: heartbeat, breath, menstruation, pregnancy, birth, pain, and recovery. When you neglect your body, you also neglect the anima, the sacred feminine nurtured by those very rhythms. A woman may succeed in her career, but if she's estranged from her body, her feminine energy will wither, rootless. The solution isn't complex theory, but simple actions. Learn to listen to your body as you would a dear friend. When tired, rest instead of pushing through. When hungry, eat what your body truly needs, not what others dictate. When it craves movement, dance, walk, or simply stretch. These seemingly small moments are rituals to reconnect with your primal wisdom. Another practice is to spend a few minutes daily asking, "How does my body feel today?" You may be surprised to find the answer doesn't always align with what your mind thinks. That very discrepancy is the key to realizing how long you've neglected yourself. Number 9. Lacking transformative rituals. If the body is the soul's sanctuary, transformative rituals are the milestones marking its journey of growth. But in modern society, consumed by work, schedules, and efficiency, these rituals have faded or been reduced to the point where the soul has no place to affirm that it has crossed into a new phase. This absence leaves feminine energy fragmented and disoriented, as if unsure of its place in life's journey. In ancient cultures, women were given rituals for each major life stage. Puberty was marked by a ceremony for a girl's first menstruation, reminding her that her body now held the power to create life. Becoming a mother came with rituals honoring sacrifice and birth. Even menopause was seen as a sacred milestone, transitioning from nurturing to the wisdom of a guide. These rituals weren't mere formalities. They were ways for the soul to anchor itself, ensuring women didn't lose their way in time's flow. In contrast, today, many women pass through these stages in silence or even shame. In some cultures, a girl's first period is hidden, treated as something dirty to conceal. New mothers often return to work before fully recovering, with no space to honor the sacred journey of birth. Women entering menopause often feel old or less valuable, instead of recognizing it as a time to transform into profound wisdom. Without rituals, their souls struggle to close one chapter and open another, leaving them stuck between past and present, old roles and new. Jung emphasized that humans need symbols and rituals to connect with the collective unconscious. Without them, the soul easily falls into emptiness, lacking grounding. The feminine, rooted in rhythm and cycles, is especially vulnerable when these cycles are missed. A woman without rituals to mark her growth struggles to understand why she feels adrift, directionless, despite outward stability. The good news is you can create personal rituals for yourself. They don't need to be grandiose or religious. A specific example of a transformative ritual you can apply is a post-burnout recovery ceremony. Start with a symbolic release. Light a candle, sit in a quiet space, and write down everything that's exhausted you, habits, expectations, or invisible burdens you've carried. Once the letter is complete, burn or tear it up, seeing it as bidding farewell to an old version of yourself. This isn't just a simple act. It's an acknowledgement that you've crossed a threshold, ready for a new chapter. Then, move into a gentle cleansing ritual for the body. Bathe in warm water with a pinch of salt or a few petals, breathing deeply and visualizing fatigue washing away with the water. As you dry off, you'll feel as if you've shed a heavy layer of dust, reborn physically and spiritually. Finally, choose a small object as a symbol of new beginnings, a stone, a bracelet, or a tiny charm. Hold it in your hand and softly speak a commitment. I allow myself to rest and live more slowly. From then on, each time you touch this object, it will remind you that you've overcome burnout and are now walking with a new rhythm, gentler, yet more enduring. Number 10. Refusing the journey of individuation. And this is the stepping stone to the deepest challenge, daring or refusing to embark on the journey of individuation, the path Jung saw as the soul's true return to itself. For Jung, individuation isn't selfishness, but a sacred process of breaking free from roles, expectations, and others' shadows to live as a unique soul. Yet, paradoxically, this is what many fear most. Imagine a seed. It's created to become a singular tree, with its own leaves, scent, and fruit. But if it refuses to sprout, fearing the darkness of soil, the rain, or the sun, it will forever remain just a seed. Many women are the same. They hear the inner call, the anima's whisper that there is more, but dismiss it out of fear of change, judgment, or losing what they have. They stay as they are, but the cost is a life never fully lived. In therapy, Jung saw many patients stuck in this state. They came to him with vague symptoms, depression, anxiety, a sense of meaninglessness. Digging deeper, he found the root wasn't external circumstances, but their refusal of the inner journey. They knew they needed change, but resisted it at all costs. And because the soul was suppressed, it rebelled through illness or mental crises. The key to understanding is, individuation isn't a journey completed overnight. It doesn't demand abandoning everything for a perfect self. It starts with small, courageous steps, daring to ask, what do I truly want? Listening to intuition, refusing what no longer fits, slowing down to find your own path. Each small act is a brick laid in the foundation of becoming yourself. Refusing individuation is refusing the soul's deepest call. The consequence isn't just emptiness, but a life lived as if happy, as if fulfilled, but with an unfillable void within. Only by daring to step into this journey do you discover what it means to truly live a rich, authentic, radiant life, where feminine energy not only exists but shines as your unique essence. By now, you've likely touched the long-closed doors within yourself. No grand oaths are needed, just a small choice today. Pause for 5 minutes to listen. Name an emotion waiting to be seen. Write an honest line to yourself, or bravely say no to what no longer fits. These tiny steps are the quiet but steadfast force, moving you from old inertia back to where your soul can breathe. See this conclusion as a gentle milestone, from awareness to action. Each day, choose one small act as a marker for yourself,